Our next guest strives to make daily lives easier. Well, that got our attention right away by decoding human thoughts. Well, that really got our attention. We thought, what, a chip implant? I don't know. We got to find that out. Well, they do this with a next generation smartphone keyboard. Check this out, especially for all my fellow androids out there. Welcome the CEO and co-founder of Typewise, David Eberly. Dave, welcome into tomorrow. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
Thanks, Dave. Well, I'm doing great. We're out here in Switzerland, Europe, and are enjoying the first snow.
Very good. Yeah, we don't get a lot of that here in Miami. I think 1977, I remember I was doing early morning radio, morning drive radio. So I'm leaving the house at like 4:30 in the morning to go to the radio station. And there's snow falling and on the car. I had to run in, wake up the wife and kids and get everybody. What? We don't care. Snow? What do you mean snow? Yeah, come on, you got to see this. And it's the first time in 100 years, hasn't happened since. So, so send us some of your Switzerland snow, will you? A little thermos or something. Just send some over, and I'll throw it around out front, and it'll of course melt before it hits the ground. But anyway, glad to have you with us. Tell me about Typewise, first of all, as a company, and then let's get into this particular app and why you found it helpful to provide it.
Sure. So it was one day, actually, it was also a winter day when my former high school buddy, Janice, sent me a very, very long email. I was just staying over at a friend's house. And he described in that email how he just realized that we're on our phones while, everything is brand new technology. We're using the latest chips and biggest touch screens. That one thing that we use about 80 times every day, which is the keyboard, is still based on technology that comes from the 19th century that was created for typewriters.
That's true.
And that's the reason why, and maybe you've noticed it as well, like when you think about it, that typing on a phone is very cumbersome. It's slow, it's error prone.
Oh yeah.
You often wish, if it's more than like a sentence or two, that you had a laptop keyboard, which would be somewhat more comfortable.
Yeah, I tend to dictate almost everything because I find it more painful than hunting and pecking on the small keyboard.
Absolutely. So I think there have been changes also over the past few years since we started the journey, and I think dictation is obviously a big topic. It's also not always usable if you're in a public space.
Yeah.
If you want to do edits to your text, doing that by voice.
Painful.
Go back 5 words and change this. And no, I didn't mean that word, the other one.
Or worse, it actually translates and dictates, go back 5 words. No, that's not what I meant. So it's painful. Yeah. So that's a good point. And then, of course, trying to zero in on it on your phone is more difficult as well, so that you can go in and just manually delete. And by that time, it's not worth it, which is where apparently Typewise comes in.
Absolutely. I think we really looked at, hey, how would you design a smartphone keyboard if you were to make it from scratch? And that's like the starting point was really the keys itself, which on the keyboard, on the conventional keyboard, that's one of the main reasons why it's so difficult or why it's so cumbersome, because the keys are very narrow, they're small. Then you have to concentrate, then you still miss the wrong, like you still miss the key, you hit the wrong one. And then worst of all, the autocorrection then does something you didn't want it to do.
Yeah.
And it changes the word into something completely different. And then it just becomes frustrating. So the whole Typewise, let's say, like typing platform is built around 3 cornerstones. So one cornerstone is that it's fast and accurate. That's the whole intelligence that's built in, and we can talk about that in a second. The second point is that it's all private. So everything you type, it can be very sensitive of what you type, and you don't want anyone that, like any keyboard company to see that.
So privacy, of course, is a concern, even with a smartphone keyboard. I mean, we talk about privacy in sending and receiving emails and clicking links and doing that, but we don't tend to think about our keyboard as a privacy issue. But it is.
Absolutely. Like, that's what I think most users are not aware, is that everything goes through the keyboard. And now keyboards nowadays, they all have built in like these text predictions. They have autocorrection technology and so forth. We know from like a Google keyboard, from a Microsoft Swift key, for example. But those algorithms, they need to be fed with data. And what data is it? Well, it's a user data. And you can say, well, I'm using Telegram and I'm not using WhatsApp because I want to enjoy privacy.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking on the level before, which is equally important. And that's, I think, the real difference that we want to make, is by offering all the intelligence while offering the privacy aspect as well.
And it's not like I want listeners who are not yet seeing the video where we're showing them how Typewise can work. But for those who are just listening on the radio at the moment, it's not like this is a keyboard that takes over your whole screen so that you can't even see what you're doing. It does not do that. It's still the lower portion of your screen and gives you control. How would you describe it to our radio audience before they can see the video as to what it looks like and how it works?
Sure, and that's the third component, which is like the design. So it's really well designed for the age of smartphones, and you could imagine it being like a honeycomb structure.
Oh yeah,
with hexagonal keys. There's still like the actual letters are in a very, very similar spot. So it's still the QWERTY sequence that's very similar, but through the hexagonal key shape, we were able to make the keys 70% larger than they are on a regular keyboard without taking up more space.
The way you've laid them out makes it that we have much more convenience, I guess, in going after those keys. And it's hard to imagine until you can see it. But believe me, this keyboard is cool. And it makes a difference to be able to say, well, first of all, I don't need my reading glasses to type on the phone with Typewise, which is helpful to begin with. But also the keys are where you would expect them to be, but they're just larger. And I like the honeycomb shape. It just seems to be a little more natural. Now I'm beginning to get the whole thought of you guys making lives easier by decoding human thoughts and just making it easier, especially if those of us that try to type with just two thumbs rather than hunt and peck with one finger. It does seem to make more sense. How does one get Typewise, other than the fact that, thank you in advance, you've provided several lifetime license codes for several of our listeners, so you may win one if you're an Android user and want to win one. Be sure and let us know when you call in to participate. But how does anyone else listening get Typewise?
Sure. I mean, it's available on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. So just search for Typewise and you will find it.
So it's available for iPhone as well, even though we've been stressing
absolutely.
Android?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Terrific. So either can use it. We'll just have the lifetime license codes for Androids. But if at some point there's a way to get some for our iPhonies, that's what I tend to call them because I'm an Android, then we'll share that with iPhone. But that's good to know. So both major platforms are serviced by Typewise.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And the app is available for free. So it's no ads. It's absolutely free to use. But there's a premium version, which just contains additional features.
Terrific. And Typewise.app Great domain. Typewise.app is where you can get the info, and you've got to be able to just check it out, whether you've seen the video here or not. There's additional cool graphics on your site that give us a much better idea of the layout and how it looks and how it works. I think it's very cool. As I said, this keyboard is cool. What's next for Typewise? Where are you headed into tomorrow?
Yeah, good question. So now during CES, we're announcing the version 3.0, which brings a totally new level of intelligence. So visually, there's not much change to the keyboard itself, but the behavior of the auto correction and all this predictive writing will completely change. So we're working with a one of the world's leading technology institutes. It's called ETH Zurich. It's like the MIT of Europe.
Okay.
They're also leading the tables.
Yeah.
As part of a government-supported like R&D project. And this is now going live very soon. And the benefit is that the users will, and that's really now about this decoding human thoughts, that we interpret based on what keys you have pressed and where you have pressed and how fast you have pressed and what you've done in the past and what language you're typing in and what your typical behavior is to write the text as you intended to do it.
Terrific.
So it should really be, and you can write in slang or in dialect, that's fine. So you don't have to write a standard English, but you can really use those names and words that might be in your community, like typical, maybe especially for I think it's relevant for younger people, and Typewise just can deal with this like very well. There's also like an undo button, so if you disagree with any automatic correction of the system, you just tap then the undo button. It's automatically reverted. You don't have to go back and change it, but the word is automatically reverted. And also the intelligence learns from this interaction. So then in the future, you don't have to constantly press undo for the same name.
Yeah.
That would be a bit...
yeah, that's true. So redundant and repetitive. Yeah. I love how you are making our smartphones more smart. More intelligent. So we do advise our audience to take a peek at Typewise, Typewise, Typewise.app. And, of course, we'll link you there, too, when you visit us at intotomorrow.com. David, continued good luck. Keep us informed about your additional progress and more things coming out of Typewise, and we'll be happy to share that with our audience. And we thank you for spending a few minutes with us during a very busy CES. Good luck to you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Again, Typewise.app. David Eberly, the CEO and co-founder of Typewise. We'll get you there when you hit us up at intotomorrow.com. I'm Dave Graveline. Much more for the International Consumer Electronics Show. More products and services, cool things to share with you as Into Tomorrow continues right here on the Advanced Media Network.